I am thrilled to welcome back to Out of Limits of Truth Reborn, Dave Weiss, otherwise known as Flat Earth Dave. Learn more about him by going to flatearthdave.com. When we first spoke, we were questioning whether or not Earth is a globe, and I'll tell you what, since that period of time since we first spoke, there have been so many things that have come up. We've had a lot of interesting guys. I'm going to tell you something. I'm completely skeptical about the nature of our reality. And so, Dave, to give you a little heads up on something, I'll tell you where I am in 1 second. But first, welcome to the show. And I have to say, I admire your passion because you're out there on every network you can imagine, speaking your truth. And it doesn't matter what people say. You have no problem speaking your passion. So welcome back.
Yeah, the truth will set you free, and a lot of people don't like truth. What are you, a truther? Like, you want to know the
Oh,
truth?
yeah.
It's crazy. And something's going on in the world right now where people have literally lost their ability to think beyond surface level thoughts. It happened
Yeah.
rapidly in the last month, and it's. I'm wondering if they're using frequencies on the world right now, and they're getting ready to pull something off where people won't be able to think their way through it. I don't know.
I
There's
don't
some weird
know.
stuff going on.
It could be. I started watching a gentleman named Dr. Cruz, and he was talking about how blue light is making so many people like dumber. And he was saying that you have to wear UV
Hmm.
light, UV glasses to block out the blue light. And that's echoed by Jason Christoff and some of our other guests, but I'm hearing them more and more. So that could be it. Could be the food supply, could be the fact that our circadian rhythms are off, who knows? But I'll agree with you that, not only people, not thinking critically this past month, but maybe the past couple of years. And when we witnessed and went through with the world shut down, the whole thing happened. I have to say, I actually became incredibly skeptical about the nature of our reality because it showed me point blank that I don't believe for an instant that there is any wisdom in the collective. I think that the stupidity emerges at the highest level in the collective. That's where it kind of emerges, and you see glimpses of intelligence in small groups of people and brilliance. So I'm curious, when you look at what had happened in the past 4 years, how has it impacted your perspective and the perspective from most people that you perceive as thinking what the Earth really is? Did it give a lot of credence and credibility to the idea of questioning that the Earth was a globe from your perspective?
Well, 2014 when I started looking into flat Earth reluctantly, you mentioned flat Earth to somebody, and they literally just call you an idiot. They insult you. They react emotionally. And now you mention flat Earth to somebody, they're like, I heard something about that. Oh, I saw this, I saw that. So it's getting out there into the collective mind, and more and more people are waking up. And the funny thing is during your life, you'll like, oh yeah, I like sports cars, I like to play chess, I like this, I like that, and you go through phases and fads, and you like, I kind of grew out of that. Nobody grows out of flat Earth. Nobody leaves flat Earth. But they have paid agents out there and trolls like, oh, I used to be a flat earther, but then I saw this, and now I'm a glober. That's not a real thing. That's not. Nobody discovers the flat Earth, and goes back to the globe because the globe is absolutely ridiculous. Now, we don't know exactly what the flat Earth is 100%. That's for sure. We admit that we don't know. Globers think they know everything, and their model makes no sense. As a matter of fact, I retract that statement. They don't have a model. The globe doesn't have a model.
No, I thought that
No.
does. So what are the would you say the strongest arguments for the Globers, people who believe the Earth is round, and the
So,
strongest arguments for people who don't believe it's round?
yeah, so the strongest arguments the globe has are people from ancient history and looking up at the lights in the sky. But if you really drill it down, first, you don't know about any of those people. If any of the stuff that they say is true, you don't know any of it. Um, like Eratosthenes. You know the story of Eratosthenes with his sticks and shadows.
No,
Do you know that? No.
no.
So everyone, we were taught that in school. But Eratosthenes in ancient Greece said all the sun rays come in parallel, but they really don't come in parallel. No one's ever seen parallel rays, and he said that that he looked down a well and he saw the sun on the bottom of the shining on the water. He's like, okay, the sun is directly above me here. If I sent my buddy 500 miles away, we know the earth is a sphere. I could do some math and figure out the sphericity. So here's Eratosthenes right here. He's got his stick showing no shadow. And then his buddy's over here. You can measure the length of the shadow and you could do some good math and figure out the sphericity of this ball. That's awesome. And Carl Sagan in the show Cosmos back in the 80s, I guess, he said Eratosthenes figured it out. And he was within 2% of today's understanding, right? Well, both of those are lies. It's just lies. 2%, that lie was in 2% of today's lie, which just makes it, credible to the unthinking person. But on a flat earth, we have a small local sun. So here's Eratosthenes, here's his buddy 500 miles away, and you can measure the shadow and you can do the same math and figure out the sphericity of this flat surface. So it's not exclusive, the shadow differences from one to the other. And I don't know. Did you ever watch Cosmos? And this is a famous scene in Cosmos. Carl Sagan's like, here he is, and if the Earth was flat, there would be no shadow on either one of them, right? Because the sun is infinitely far away, so the rays are coming in parallel. But on a curved Earth, and he bends it. Let's just jump forward here. He bends it. He's like, look, no shadow. Shadow that only works on a curved Earth. Well, that's not true. It only works on a curved Earth if you don't check to see if it works on a flat earth, and it works on a flat earth. It works perfectly fine on a flat earth. Here, as an example, you can just do it in your own room. I got 2 beer bottles, I think, or hot sauce bottles, whatever these are. And there's a light directly above this one. There's no shadow. And there's a shadow on this one. We can do some math to figure out the sphericity of this floor, right? So this is pseudoscience nonsense that they teach us, and people don't question it because their teacher told them, because it was in the textbook, because the guy with the pocket protector on his white lab coat told them, because someone with a degree. What is a degree? How do you get a doctorate or even just a college degree? You're really good at memorizing and regurgitating. That's it, right? I can write the book of BS. You can study it. I can test you on it. You can get 100%. And then I can give you a diploma that you are certified in BS. So when you're talking BS with your friends, they can't question you because they don't have a degree. You're certified. You have a degree in BS. So again, that's not thinking. That's not science. That's memorization and regurgitation from the controllers that are trying to control you.
So they have an interest in control. So what their main goal is, why would they want to make us believe
Why?
that the Earth
Why?
is a globe? Yeah,
It's
what's
a
the
great,
biggest reason for
it's the
that?
greatest question of all. Um, it's about control because they need to control the human race. And if you understand that you're living in the center of creation, that God created this world for us, that we're powerful beings, that there's probably more land that they're hiding, that there's infinite resources, that we're not in fear of asteroids hitting us and taking us out, that global warming is not what they tell us, and all these other things. If you believe you live on a ball, it's kind of like the Truman Show. You're trapped, you have limited resources, and they literally control us. So the number one thing is they're hiding God, right? They're hiding the creator, right? Because in the heliocentric world, you can believe in God or you cannot believe in God because of the Big Bang. They made up the Big Bang story. Once upon a time, there was nothing. It exploded, became everything. And then, lightning struck and created DNA, and it turned into an amoeba that turned into a fish that grew legs, and they climbed out of the water, found another sexy fish and had a monkey, and the monkey had a human.
I do
That's
question evolution for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
that's just
So yeah. So it's all to hide our true potential. It's to keep us controlled and sick and scared. And this is literally a spiritual war. A lot of people have a hard time believing that, but it's a war for our energy. And if we're in that fear state and lack and lonely and scared, they harvest that energy from us. They call it loosh energy, and that's what I believe is going on. But they're literally hiding creation. They're hiding resources. They're hiding free energy. They're hiding all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I would be surprised about that. I mean, I've heard a lot of different. I mean, Dr. Stephen Greer's talked about how there's been discovery of 0 point energy. Apparently, a number of individuals have discovered 0 point energy, but they don't never seem to be alive long enough to maybe be out there. And anti-gravitational machines, apparently, those existed or have existed for a long period of time. But coming back to what you said about, okay, well, the elites want to deny us God, and they want to basically make us seem like we're isolated. If you are on a planet and a globe, and you're part of an expanding universe, and you are one of a billion different planets, doesn't it seem like if you're on the planet that you're kind of like in a period of abundance where there's so much potential life forms out there, so much undiscovered areas beyond our world. I would imagine that would make people a little more hopeful, say, well, look, maybe that we can go beyond our world. But if you're on a flat Earth, I figured that in some way, wouldn't that make people feel a little bit scared that they're contained, that kind of like they are trapped or in a area or a realm where they cannot access or get or leave without death.
Well, that's a
I
good
mean,
good
do
question.
you think that the globe putting in that, you know,
People think that the flat Earth is also a prison, like the globe is a prison. I don't know if I think we live in this toroidal field. That it could be infinitely far. There could be more lands beyond Antarctica. Biblically and scientifically, sure, it works. It works in both, but um, there's infinite resources. They don't want you to know that everything's alive, from the plants to yourself to the food you eat to the rocks on the ground to the clouds, the air. Everything is alive and electric, and we live in this electrical system. And it's a toroidal field. You know what a toroidal field looks like? Let me just show you real quick. Here we go. So we live in this double toroid, and we live on this dielectric plane in the middle. This is where we live, and all the planets and everything, the luminaries, they circle around in this electromagnetic field, and this is where we live. We are electrical beings. If we tried to leave this place, I think we would just get sucked back into the center, and and we would not be alive anymore. Bill Nye himself said, we live in an enclosed system. You cannot leave. Not that I trust anything he says, but that's a little bit of
yeah.
revelation of the method, I guess.
I'm surprised he actually said that. I figured he would say he'd be like Neil deGrasse Tyson. And actually, one of the reasons why I become very suspicious about a lot of things is because I think that so many individuals had their credibility destroyed the past 4 years. Those that were telling you, trust the science to do this and that. I felt that their credibility was so destroyed on so many different levels that it actually caused a lot of people to question the science and question everything. Because, if your credibility is shot in one area, then what else are they particularly hiding from us? So that's why I was out there. And I wanted to tell you something, Dave, when we first spoke, I was like, okay, I was kind of believing in that we were on Earth and globe. And now I got to the point where I'm like, I kind of just have a sense that I don't know if it's a flat Earth, but I feel like this is a plane of existence or a simulation. I think I'm probably leaning more towards a simulation because
Well,
of how repetitive a lot of these things I see in the sky. I think the sky I look at it differently than I did before. It just
this,
seems very, I don't know.
No, no, I got you. And the word
You-
simulation has got a lot of baggage with it, kind of like flat Earth has a lot of baggage with it. But you're not far off when you say it's a simulation. But they tell us that we're orbiting the sun and everything. But in school they don't teach you that we're chasing the sun also, according to their model. Right? We're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, we're orbiting at 66,600 miles an hour on average, and we're chasing the sun at close to 500,000 miles per hour, traveling 4.5 billion miles a year, never to return to where we were before. All the other stars are doing their own thing. They say that 80% of the stars in our galaxy are binary, and that means they're orbiting each other as they're moving in their own directions, right? They even say that our sun might have a sister sun, and some stars are trinary, which is another thing, the three body problem. But none of the stars ever change in all of history.
Yeah.
No two stars have crossed each other due to parallax, right? None of when things closer to you move faster than things farther,
Yeah.
right? And that's called parallax. When you're going down the road and the trees on the side of the road versus the trees up in the mountain, the ones on the side of the road are whipping by fast, the ones on the mountain are moving slower. That's parallax. Never have two stars cross each other's paths. Now, some globers will claim that's not true. This one star moved from here to here in the last 150 years. Oh, yeah. Were you alive? Can you prove that? Am I cutting out?
No, no, you're not going to get it
Oh,
all. And
okay.
also when it comes to the stars, I just wonder what are they? Because I have a
Glad you
really hard
asked.
time, because I have a hard time believing that, okay, we're looking at light from billions of years ago. These are just you're looking in the sky, you're looking at dead stars that are coming back to you. It doesn't seem there's something off about that. It seems stationary, and I try to like, zoom in with that stuff. So I'm always curious, what have you come to the conclusion, or what do you believe stars are?
Do you remember this picture from school?
Yep.
This is
Yeah,
the
that's kind of fake.
crab nebula. It always scared me. It looked like creature feature of the hand,
Yeah.
you know. And they say that this is a nebula of dust and gas. So first, that's the first problem. We have dust and gas in a space vacuum, in a vacuum. How do you have dust and gas in a vacuum? Doesn't gas violently fill the available space? Right? Doesn't it? It does. Oh, that's what it always does. So they say this is so big that it actually makes stars, and that little pieces of dust will stick to each other, and then enough of them will stick to each other, and they'll start pulling in the gases, and it gets more gravitational and more gravitational, and it all just combines and combines and combines until it ignites into a star. Right? And our sun is one of the smallest stars, 186,000 miles across. Okay. 186,000 miles across. We're 24,000 miles around. Right. So this is collapsing, and let's say it makes a star the size of our sun, or one size of Betelgeuse, which can hold like 1,000 of our suns, like crazy. What stops the rest of the cloud from collapsing into it? Why does it stop? And then when it's done making that star, how does it eject it from the cloud and tell it to go park itself in the galaxy? Is it spitting it out like a ping pong ball machine? You know, like this is, you don't know, and nobody knows, right? Because it's nonsense. It's pseudoscience, absolute total nonsense. And our technology, our cameras, our lenses have outgrown their technology, their lies. This is a star.
Okay. Let's get up close. So what would you define that as? It looks like it's something underneath the water.
I think it's angelic. I think it's an angel. I think the
Okay.
stars don't move because they're perfect, because they're angels. And when I say angels, that's where maybe our souls reside when we're not here having this physical avatar experience on Earth, right? Maybe we
Okay.
choose, or somebody chooses, or maybe we choose to come have this physical experience in this realm and expand the mind of the creator. But when we're not, we're stars, you know, and when we
No.
don't move because we're perfect.
Okay.
You know, this is the star Sirius, right? It's interesting. Interesting. And this is Aldebaran,
Yeah.
Aldebaran. I can't say it. Star Trek screwed me up on that one. Um, but you know, they want you to believe that we fly through space and it looks like this, and you're passing stars. The distances between these stars are just this is just not even. I don't. I mean, they want you to believe this is what happens, right? The closest star to our solar system is 25 trillion miles away, and the next one is magnitudes farther. All right, that's what they tell us.
Um,
You can't fathom how far that is. You can't, because it's impossible. 1 trillion seconds. You know how long that is?
I
Want
no.
to take a guess? I make everyone guess every show.
10,000 years.
That's not a bad guess. 31,000 years. Okay.
Oh, okay.
31,000 years. Okay. This is the star Sirius. Kind of looks like the Sirius satellite logo a little bit.
Mm.
All right. Um, so 31,000 years, that's 1 trillion seconds, right? So if you're traveling a mile per second, it would take you 31,000 years to go 1/25th of the way to the closest star. You got to do that 31,000 years, 24 more times to get there. And then you're going to crash in Roswell, you know, if that's, you know, it's absolute
How long would
nonsense.
how long would it take to take a picture of something like that? Because it seems like it always they show the Hubble telescopes. Okay, well they take these pictures and like it's in deep space, but I figured that between the time it took the picture, between the time the light hit the space Hubble the
Well, they're
telescope,
telling
and
us
the
that
time it
the
came
star
back,
could be burned out millions of years ago because the light
you
has
know,
just been traveling. Well, when light travels, it spreads out.
okay,
It spreads out and gets weaker and weaker and weaker until you can't see it anymore. It's like blowing up a balloon. How big can you blow the balloon before all of the rubber would just be too thin to see? Right? Light does the
yeah,
same thing. And and you know, and then they give us um pictures from the James Webb Telescope, right? So here is let me see which one this is. So they got this picture, you got this picture, and you got that picture. Now, it's been a long time since I've shown these. One of these is James Webb. The other two I made on the Canva app for free, right? I don't remember which one is which, to be honest. Right? And if I told you they were all from James Webb, you just have to believe me.
Uh,
Isn't that crazy? I think this is the
I
James
mean,
Webb
they
one.
seem like they can do it, but if you are talking to somebody and they're like, okay, well, look, I'm open-minded, but what is your strongest? Like, they'll say, well, okay, you can watch a number of videos for people who believe that the Earth is not a globe, and they'll watch videos and they'll watch things, they'll point things out. But where do you, if you were going to say, look, this is the most solid scientific footing that I can conclude, this is why I believe that the Earth is not a globe, what would you say would be like the two strongest scientific reasons from your perspective that give credibility and credence, not only just to flat Earth, but
Sure.
at least put a hole or raise the question of doubt in a globe model?
Yeah. So let's just finish with the sky, and then I'll give you some
Yeah,
scientific
sure.
reasons that the Earth is a globe scientifically. Um, so I won't look back into time to men that don't even that may have not have existed. By the way, the Eratosthenes, in 2,000 years ago, figured out the shape of the Earth, but all the books from mathematicians that came out of that area for all of the time never mentioned his experiment until a book came out in the mid 1900s. That's weird, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the Rockefellers probably published it. Here is Google images of stars from NASA. So, so these are stars from NASA, and three of them I made. Can you guess which ones they are? No, you can't. Right? It's the
Actually, I think I can.
okay. Go ahead. Well, I just showed you.
Oh, you did. Oh,
Um,
yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
it's right
Yep.
those
Yep.
there. So um, actually, I'm sorry, two. Those two are fake, but the reality is they're all fake. Okay, not that they're all fake. Those are James Webb's pictures, but they're all fake. Okay, they're all absolutely 100% fake. Um, because there is no space like that. Everything, we could not see stars at the distances they tell us, right? Our sun is 186,000 miles across, right? So if it was a mile over your head at noon, it would fill the entire sky. Agreed?
Yeah. And
Right?
when it comes to good.
Well, let's just do this. Let's just do this thought
Sure.
experiment, right? So if the sun was above your head, you'd look up, and they would fill the entire sky like that, right? And then we move it 93 million miles away, and now it's the size of a coin held at arm's length, right? Just like we see the
Hmm.
sun, right? You hold a quarter out or a nickel, it'll cover the sun
Yeah.
at arm's length. So it reduced in size because it went farther away, right? So if we doubled the distance, how much smaller would it get? Some people say a quarter, which it is. That's the inverse square law. And some people say a half. Let's just say it's half the size. So if we doubled it again, so it's four times as far, it would be like the size of a pencil eraser. Eight times as far, it would be like a large star, right? It would just be almost a point of light in the sky. So eight times farther, if the sun is 8 light minutes away, which is what they tell us, eight times farther, eight times eight, 64. We'll round it down. We'll say it's a light hour. So at a light hour away, the sun is now the size of a star. If I made it 2 light hours away, could you see it?
No.
Maybe. Let's just say it's
Right.
it's a small star. If we made it
Yeah.
4 light hours away, double again. Could you see it? The answer is absolutely not. We can prove that you wouldn't be able to see it. And that's just the angular size. Forget the brightness issue because it's getting dimmer and dimmer every time we double it. Right. But let's make it 24 light hours away. So a light day away is magnitudes too far. It's not even a theory. It's not a question. You cannot see the sun at a light day away. Why am I bringing this up? Well, we all look up in the northern hemisphere and see Polaris, and it's with our naked eye. They tell us Polaris is 46 times bigger than the sun. So if we made it 46 times farther, it would be the same size. It would look the same size. So if we made Polaris 46 light days away, it would be well beyond our ability to see it. It would be too small and too dim. 46 light days away, let's round that up to 2 light months. At 2 light months away, we can scientifically prove that you could not see Polaris. Brightness and angular size is just beyond the human's ability to see. But they tell us Polaris is 433 light years away. 433 light
Oh,
years away, and you couldn't see it at 2 light months away. And that's giving it extra leeway, giving them the benefit of the doubt. 2 light months away, probably a light week away, you couldn't see it. But we're going to round it up to 2 light months, even a year, doesn't matter. 433 light years away. It's nonsense. And then what is the sun? What are stars? They're helium
yeah.
and hydrogen in a space vacuum. How do you have helium and hydrogen that create gravity, hold on to planets? How does the sun hold on to Pluto and ignore our moon? Well,
Yeah.
the Earth is closer to the moon, so the Earth's gravity cancels out the sun's gravity. Does that make any sense to you?
No, I have a lot to say, a lot to question about the moon, but I want to come back to that one. But,
Yeah.
but exactly, what is this? Because I know that people have taken some really great pictures. I mean, I take pictures of the sky every day, and I zoom in on the sun, and then I've also seen a number of different images of it, and it looks different. What they said is, I always sense that it. I know that maybe they'll call it an illusion, but it seems like it's a lot closer. And I always think it's very strange. Like it's such a weird coincidence that the Earth and the Moon, sorry, the sun and the Moon look like they're to be exactly the same size. They seem very identical.
Well,
I
they
don't
they
necessarily
say
notice
that
them.
the sun is 400 times bigger and 400 times farther than the moon. Right? They say it's 400 times bigger and 400 times farther, therefore it looks like the same size. That's why I use the analogy with the Polaris being 46 times farther than the sun, then they would look like they're the same size. So we can prove that you can't see the sun at that distance at a light day away. So we can prove, rounding up, 2 light months away, you could not see Polaris, but that's ridiculous. None of it makes any sense at all. But when we go out and look at the sun, you think that it's 93 million miles away, or is it much more local? Right?
Um,
What
I
is the
noticed.
sun?
Yeah. I don't know. I noticed it's a little strange that because I'm sure people they'll have a scientific they'll have a quote unquote scientific explanation, but I noticed that the rays of the sun appear on certain areas as going one way and then they're a different way. The way that because I see the rays of sun when they're coming down like they cover a smaller geographic area and I figured if the sun's going to be so big I figured that the rays would all kind of be going the same direction in one ge larger geographic area. So I just don't understand why.
Well, they
This
say that, I mean, the rays come in crepuscular, they spread out. But here's a
yeah,
balloon at 127,000 feet, and if you
I've
look,
seen these.
yeah, the sun is there's a hot spot over here. It's darker over here. If the sun is 93 million miles away, it would light up everything equally. No, actually, it wouldn't light up anything because it would just be too far away. The
Yeah.
excuse me, the heliocentric model is ridiculous. It's so stupid. And once you understand it, once you unlock your mind from that prison of that religion, there's two, you talk about religions and stuff. The two biggest religions that take the most amount of faith are heliocentrism and atheism because they take massive leaps of faith. There's no science behind either one of them. And it's actually unimaginable to me now. But I used to be both of those.
Okay. Well, what about there certain organized religions where the story of like Jesus, apparently it's been told a number of different times that they've recalled it through various different religions. And there's certain individuals who have various faiths, number of different faiths. And if somebody professes the faith, I'm going to say, okay, well, that's what you believe and that's what keeps you fulfilled. And
There's nothing wrong
I'm
with
not going to
that.
question that. No,
But the
no.
1776 Bible spoke and said that God is within you and we all have
Okay.
direct access to God. We are part of the creators. Mosquitoes wants to eat me. And But then they said, you know what? We need to remove God from within the person and make us the middleman so we can control the people. And that's what all the religions did. They removed God from the person and they say, you have to come through us to get to God. It's all about control. So when flat earth goes mainstream, all religious organizations will shut down, all governments will shut down, all of it, because this is all about controlling the people. If you create a ball that's not God's world, then you can have your own ball field rules, right? But if the government's admitted that the earth is flat and that God created, they can only make laws that go with God's law, which is, don't step on anyone else's toes, essentially. Right. So they control us with with the globe, and they control us with money, which is fake. Money's fake. It's a faith. It's another faith-based religion.
Yeah, currency. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you're speaking at an Acapulco, by the way. Jeff Berg's been on our show a number of times, so we always love talking to him.
Yeah.
He's definitely a big seeker. And when it comes, I've actually had a conversation with a couple individuals who are very pro freedom. And it was also talked to Gerald Celente, he's the founder of the Trends
I,
Journal.
I
And we were
know.
talking about,
I know
okay,
Gerald.
yeah, that's pretty well. And then we've had Larkin Rose. And the reason why I bring him to
Yeah.
your attention is because Larkin's all about, okay, look, the world's moving towards a stateless society. Like we're moving towards this era where there's not going to be any kind of authority. And then Gerald and a couple other people will say, well, you know what? No, they're not there yet. There are people who are definitely there mentally, but most people want to be ruled. And what I'm coming from that conclusion is that, okay, you could show as much evidence as possible that the reality that we're in is not the reality of what they say it is, or at least question it. And I do wonder if people will not even acknowledge it or be in a state of cognitive dissonance, because that's what the last 4 years really have taught me is that you could show people as much evidence as possible that reality is not what it is, and you can provide all the evidence as possible. But if they don't want to believe it, they don't want to believe it. And I do wonder if do you think that people have the will, the desire, and are mentally capable of not only seeing the real truth of what Earth is, according to your perspective, but other things? Do you think that they
No.
have the human race is strong enough to accept truth at this level of its evolution?
Well, they're breeding that out of us. They're training that out of us. They're making people not want to do the work. They're training people to memorize and regurgitate, which takes no effort. They're training people to believe, which takes no effort, right? I'm in Mexico right now. Okay. So there's going to be a test question in about 30 seconds, right? So they're training us to believe and not, and let other people make decisions because it's easy. If you want to become rich, invent something that makes people lazier, right? So if you got to cook for your family, you got to go shopping, you got to think about it, you got to prepare the food, you got to cook, you got to serve, you got to clean. It's a lot of work, a lot of time. What makes you lazier? Well, fast food. Just go out and get your fast food and throw everything in the garbage when you're done, right? What makes you lazier than that? DoorDash. You don't even have to get off your couch. They'll bring the fast food to you. If you leave your door unlocked, they'll bring it in and put it on the table so you don't even have to stand up, right? And these are multi-billion-dollar businesses. So nothing wrong with being lazy if it's more efficient, but lazy minds are what's wrong with this world, right? People don't want to do the work. People don't want to take care
No.
of themselves. They want to, there's lots of good people, but they could do better. Everyone could do better. And they're making it so people just don't want, they want other people to say, well, you're going to get up now, you're going to do this. The world's going to split. It's going to go into the 15-minute city people and then the outliers like us, right? The Anarchapulco people, right? And the 15-minute city people are going to love it. They're going to get their jibby jabs. They're going to get their payments. They're going to live in their little tiny city area. They're going to have their job, and that's it. And they're going to be very happy. They're going to have Netflix. They're going to be able to do all that stuff. Meanwhile, we're going to be on the outside. It's going to be like Logan's Run. We're the people on the outside. And and I'd much rather be on the outside than stuck there. Speaking of Anarchapulco, this is my second year there. Last year I went, and you mentioned Larkin Rose, so we're going to talk about Larkin Rose for a minute.
Hey everybody, a quick message that I'd like to share with all of you. Our lives are filled with toxins in our air, food, and even in the information we're taught. Avoiding them all is impossible, but helping your body detox doesn't have to be complicated. That's where Masterpiece comes in. Just 5 drops under your tongue twice a day, and that's it. Super easy, super simple, and it doesn't even taste bad. I've tried countless supplements, and while generally I'm pretty healthy, I didn't really feel much of an effect. But with Masterpiece, it delivered noticeable benefits. Check out the podcast I did with Terry from Masterpiece, linked below this video, or you can find links directly to Masterpiece on my website, flatearthdave.com, or in the shopping section on the app. The key to health is to detoxify. Now back to the show.
Larkin Rose, I respect the guy. He does a lot of great work, but he has a mental block when it comes to looking at the flat earth. He put out a video 5-6 years ago now that said 5 things flat earthers can never answer. And he turned the comments off so we can't answer them. Right. And so I reached out to him many different times, many different ways. He won't talk to any of us, but he'll go into comment sections for hours and days on end, commenting. And we're like, can we just get you on a Zoom call? Can we show you some things? They won't do it. So he was one of the lead speakers last year. First year I'm at Anarchapulco. Jeff's been a flat earther for many years, but he said people aren't ready for it yet. But last year he said people are ready. Right. And so I
Okay.
went there. There's 50 speakers. I figured, okay, maybe a third of them are going to be open it. All 49 people, 49 speakers were non-globers. I won't call them flat earthers. Most of them were, but they're non-globers except Larkin. So I actually designed my presentation around his 5 points, right? I had the most attended presentation, including Jeff Berwick's presentation. Right, I had more people
Right.
at mine than anyone else's. I had my seminar was oversold, and Larkin Rose sat in the bushes in the driveway and didn't come to my seminar. He didn't listen to it. Right, he didn't listen to it. I
Okay.
even went up, introduced myself to him, and he wouldn't even look me in the eye. So he's got something going on there, and it's his journey. And I don't hate the guy. He made his movie that he put out. What's it called? The
Yeah, Jones Plantation,
John Plantation. I
fantastic.
bought it. I bought the high end version. I gifted it. I support him 100%. Genius. Awesome. Well done. He's got a mental block when it comes to flat Earth, and I'm going to keep those 5 points in my presentation this year. We're going to make them a little different, but maybe I don't know if he's going this year, but maybe he'll see it. But I doubt it.
I like he came up with a video in 2024 as well, where he was really he spent I think 30 or 45 minutes just burning flat Earth. He was talking about how it's very bad for the movement, and in a lot of ways, I like people to come forth and challenge and always challenge because I think when I think when people either disagree with you and it's based on emotion and they just won't listen, or they agree with you 100%. I'm not into both. I like to have somebody who's like, okay, well, let's just have an open discussion
He
and
won't have an
let's
open
just ask questions.
discussion. That's the
Well,
problem. He won't have an open discussion.
okay.
One of his big ones is he gets a ball and he holds it in front of the camera and he goes, look, he goes, is this big? He goes, so you got one this big. He goes, and one back here. Look how small it is. And he goes, and he says that you can't on a flat earth, the sun would be smaller, but he won't listen to how things work. Let me show you how things work. Let me show you that. This is a
Right.
good one. So we got a guy standing here and we got this train and the train's going away. Now, is the train getting smaller in reality, or is it just getting smaller due to perspective? Sure, it's getting smaller due to perspective, right? Of course, you understand that. So
Yeah.
that's because the train is at the same height as the viewer, right? So here is a hallway with these lines. These are all parallel. Look at these lines here. These are parallel with the yellow line. All these
Mhm.
lines are parallel. So this is how we see. This is how perspective works. So here we have a guy. This is his point of view, but we're looking at a or what's it called? Or not orthopedic. Uh I'm spacing on the word, but a side view. No one gets to see anything in life in a side view. No one, except in a painting, or video, right? So this is what's going on. This is what he perceives, right? So if we take the train cars and we bring them all the way up here, the train car is already smaller. So as it goes away, it doesn't really get much smaller. It might get a little bit smaller, but as you start looking lower and lower and lower, let's stop it for a second. You're looking through more and more and more atmosphere. And as you're looking through more and more atmosphere, the atmosphere is like a magnifying glass often, not always, but often. And it magnifies things. So as it's getting a little bit smaller, it's being magnified a little bit. It's kind of like a yin yang, and you don't see any difference in size. And measuring the sun is also extremely difficult. But let's not look at cartoons. Let's look at reality. So here's Larkin's ball, and here's his other ball 6 feet away. This one is smaller. He says you can't have that on a flat Earth. I mean, that's what would happen on a flat Earth. So what we're going to do here is we're going to raise the camera straight up. We're not going to get any closer to this ball, right? So we're going to pretend that this is something in the sky, just reverse. And so as we raise up, go forward here. So as we raise up, we're not going to get any closer, and watch what happens. So this ball is getting smaller. We're not getting any closer, and they're almost matching in size, right? And if I rolled this ball down the track, it would stay the same size, even though it's getting farther away. So this is what Larkin likes to show, but he won't show this.
Well, I, I love that he'll challenge, he'll raise different questions, and other people do as well. And he's one of those people
Right.
who's just not going to agree. I mean, there's some people in the freedom movement that are never going to come to the same conclusion, but then there are
Right.
also individuals who are never going to embrace
Right.
certain areas. It's just, I mean,
So
that's part of the revolution.
let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Try this of how Larkin's behaving. All right. Five questions that flat earthers will never answer. Comments are turned off. So where am I right now? Don't answer that. Where am I right now? I'm muting you. Don't answer right now. Right. This is what Larkin does. He's not letting you answer. Where am I right now?
I tell you what, I can't say it. I don't even.
I told you a few minutes ago. I said there's going to be a test.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
I said Mexico. I said I was in Mexico. Do you remember?
Yes.
A lot was going. I'm fire hose feeding you, so I don't expect. It's okay that you forgot. Now, is that so? My point I was trying to make there is Larkin makes these things, but won't hear the answer. Listen, is the Earth a globe? Prove it to me. I'm listening. Show me. I'm listening, and then I'll respond. Right. And so nobody's been able to do that. I'm going to get. I was about to show you proof before, but we got sidetracked. But here's the question: am I in Mexico?
Can't say for you. According to you, you said you are.
Do you believe I'm in Mexico?
I can't say with certainty.
All right. If you had to guess, would you think maybe I'm in Mexico?
Well, being that you're closer, being that the event that you're going to is in the next month, I would imagine that you could be there.
There's another little piece of evidence, right? I also used to be the president of the United States. So in 5 minutes from now, if I said, what did I say I was? And you'd say, you said you were the president of the United States. And I would like, do you believe that? And you'd be like, absolutely not. You stored that as false information. So your conscious mind is the screen that judges everything. Your subconscious mind stores everything, true or false. And the more data you put on something, the more you know that you can analyze it. So over time right now, and let's say, I haven't asked you the Mexico thing yet, and you're looking at like, well, he's wearing a bandana on his head. That's kind of weird for the winter. And then I was showing you the app, and I open up the friend finder, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, look, there's a Mexican flag there, and this, and I'm trying to. So there's another clue, but that could all just be, that could all just be a setup. So again, more and more data is being added on. But here's the problem: people don't want to take the time to analyze and think below surface level thoughts. I forget if I said it when we started recording or before. I think when we were recording that something's happened to people where they're unable to think beyond surface level thoughts. Right. So now getting back, I'll throw it back to you. Yeah. Do you think I'm in Mexico?
Do I think you are in Mexico?
Yeah.
I'm going to say this way: is that you've said that you're in Mexico.
But now you have a little more data. So you're
getting a little more information. You've shown on the
that
app that you
wouldn't bet your life on it, but you're like, you know what? If I had to take a choice, if someone was going to bet me $1, I'd bet you $1 that he's in Mexico, right?
It seems like you, because a lot of people, according to an article, it seems like Mexico seems to be a place that a lot of people are going to. A lot of freedom-based people are going to.
So
I would say that I couldn't put it out. Yeah.
It's just an analogy of how we sort information. So belief is the enemy of knowing. Crow 777 Radio, greatest podcast ever. 2 hours in Crow. He says belief's the enemy of knowing. I've changed it to belief is the lazy man's knowing, because it takes no effort. Go have a cheeseburger, right? Go take a nap, drink a beer, smoke a joint, whatever you want, because all you have to do is say, okay, I got it. I believe it. And you don't have to verify. But if you want to verify, you could start trip me up. You could ask me to, move my green screen and let me see outside, and you could gain data, but we can't live life like that. We have to have beliefs. The problem is we're told the earth is a globe. We're told that science proves it's a globe, but there absolutely is zero science that proves that we're on a globe. Zero.
Well, what if you found an abundance of information, the new information that came in that said, you know what? The Earth actually is a globe. Would you accept it?
Sure. What that information is, so things fall in, excuse me, things fall into 3 baskets. Works on a globe, works on a flat Earth, works on both. Mm-hmm. Nothing goes into that first basket. Now, we used to think that a circling sun in Antarctica only worked on a globe, but recently there is a big psyop going on where they took some flat earthers and some globers to Antarctica, and they did witness a circling sun. Now, the question is was it faked somehow, which is an interesting possibility, or did they actually see a circling sun? And there's a lot of evidence that says they saw a circling sun, and there is a biblical model. Santos Bonacci has an amazing one. This guy Joe Hanvey built a physical model showing how a counter-rotating circling sun works in Antarctica, and so it kind of could work on both. But here's the thing: why are we talking about the movement of a light in the sky, which is really a Narnia object? Helium and hydrogen collapsed into a gravitational ball that burns 640 billion tons a minute or an hour. I forget what the number is because it's stupid. For billions of years, doesn't change size, traveling at 500,000 miles per hour, dragging planets with it through a space vacuum. It's nonsense. Why are we talking about that?
It's yeah, you raised some good points, and also when it comes to space, I'll tell you one thing that really, there's a couple things. One, you said that people lately are having a hard time. It seems like they're having a hard time thinking critically, and actually, one reason I suspect is that I think the times are getting tougher in the U.S. and across the globe. There's people under a lot more stress, and the hardships are becoming a lot more common. And I think when you're in a state of stress or perpetual fear, your ability to think critically is not there. And I do think that if people were in a better position, if they were getting adequate nutrition, better sleep, and more less stress, you'd probably see a more refined critical thinking society. If you look at the 70s and 80s, it seems like, especially in the 80s, it seems like people were a lot better off and thought more critically, at least on
Well,
a mainstream scale. But real quick, as far as space goes, I think it's really strange that they were showing these astronauts in space, and they're like, oh yeah, well they've been stranded up there, but they somehow managed to get Christmas hats in the thing. Like, so they had what extra Christmas hats and Christmas decorations that they didn't intend to bring to that mission, but they're getting pictures with it. And then that I was like, well, that's really weird. And then if you look at everything that travels on Earth, okay, a car burns gas, a boat goes in the water and it has water coming out of it in order to propel itself. And then a plane flying in the air is sucking air in, pushing it out. So how does a craft travel through space? What is it pushing or sucking out in order to
how
propel
does
itself
it
going forward?
turn? Like if
Yeah.
I'm floating on my boat, I have a 23-foot small boat, and if you walk across the boat or move your body, the boat's going to counter move in the water, and the water has resistance compared to space, right? In space, these guys are bouncing off the walls, running all around in this tin can that would explode in space. It just would. I mean, you've seen when they suck the air out of a metal train car, it just literally collapses before it's even a vacuum. Well, the space station would explode. It's the dumbest crap
Yeah.
ever. But this is 1999. All of their pom poms are hanging down, but in 2023, all their pom poms are floating. So they must have had a pocket of gravity on the space station.
Yeah.
The space station is the dumbest thing ever. On my app, the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, if you go to the frequently asked questions page and you click the ISS button, there's some great
Yeah.
videos there, just mind blowing videos. But all of those videos are being hidden from you from Google because they don't want you to see any of this stuff. Let me show you a couple physical flat Earth proofs. All right.
Sure.
Um. So where'd it go? This is all right. So here's a shot from Aluja, France. We're looking out over the ocean and Canigou Mountains out here, but you can't see it because from this elevation at that distance, 175 miles, the top of the mountain should be over a half a mile or more below the horizon. Well, Earth is a globe. Can't see it. There's a horizon. But the light that's bouncing off of Mount Canigou isn't bright enough to push 175 miles through the soup and get to your eyes. It gets attenuated into the atmos. But the sun is much brighter. And as the sun moves, twice a year, it lines up with the viewer and Mount Canigou. And as it moves, it backlights the mountain, and you can see that the mountain is there. The top here should be over half a mile below the curve, but we can see the whole thing. The Glober explanation for this, ready for this, is the mountain
Right.
is below the curve and the sun is already set, but the sun is refracting up and the dark mountain is fracting up and blocking the sun. The reason you
Yeah.
can't figure it out is because it's stupid. You're not stupid. It's stupid. All right. You're not stupid. It's stupid.
Well, what is the reason or behind from flat Earth perspective about seasons? Why does it? How does seasons account on a flat Earth model?
Yeah. So seasons on a globe model are the globe killer. So glad you asked. Here we go. Let me see. Is this the image I want? That is. Oh no, that's the NLMA. Let me show you something else first. So here is on a flat Earth, right?
Mhm.
So you know what the tropics are? The Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. The Tropic of
No.
Cancer. You don't know? Let me
Yes.
show you. You do know.
Yep.
Let me just show the audience real quick. I'm going to go back to the app for a second. So this yellow line here is the Tropic of Cancer. And in June 21st, the sun is over the Tropic of Cancer. 6 months later, it goes out here. December 21st, it's over the Tropic of Capricorn. So it's farther out. Right now, I live in Connecticut. It's really cold because the sun's far away, right? But in summer in Australia, because the sun goes right over Australia. So in 2 hours, the sun will be over Sydney from the time we're recording, and it'll be noon, and the sun will be right over them, and it'll be hot, and they'll be sweating, and that's that. So back to seasons. Seasons are one of my favorite things to talk about. So thanks for asking. Here we go. So we're outside. And it's cold, it's freezing cold, and so someone comes out with a heat lamp and holds it, 10 feet over your head. So this person is warm, right? And because the heat lamp is close to them, I say, "Where do you see the sun?" And they're like, "Oh, it's straight up there." And this person over here, "Where do you see the sun?" And he's like, "Well, it's like at a 45-degree angle. It's not as high in the sky." Well, it is the same height. The ground is level, but this person sees it lower. He's farther from the heat source, so he's cold. So this person walks over, keeping it at the exact same height. And now this person sees the sun getting lower in the sky, even though it's the same height. This person sees it getting higher. And now this person's warm and the sun is higher in the sky, even though it's the exact same height.
Okay, so let me get this straight. If we're looking at the flat Earth model, the sun is noticeably higher during the winter months and noticeably lower during the summer months. Let's say when we say higher or lower, the distance, while reasonable, like let's say for example, the distance could be a matter of hundreds of feet. Let's say hypothetically speaking, that really makes the biggest difference on how the intensity of that sun or that particle in the sky affects the heat up to the Earth.
Correct. I mean, when you're
Okay.
outside and a row of street lights, right? Um, they're you're standing under a street light. Um, where am I looking for something? Um, you're standing under street lights, and I'm trying to find there we go. And the one that's over you is closer and higher, and the one down the road is lower and further. So if they were heat lamps, this one would keep you warm, and this one would not keep you warm. So there's your winter sun, and there's your summer sun, right? And this is
Okay.
just the sun, throughout the day, but it does the seasons also. It goes farther south in the summer. So in December, it's heading south until December. So if you're living in the north, it's getting farther away, so it's lower in the sky. It's just perspective. It's not getting
Okay.
lower. Now, there might be
Yes.
slightly different heights, but that's not what you're seeing. You're seeing perspective. Um, Perspective is what is making the sun look lower. So getting back to seasons. So on a ball Earth, in the
Mhm.
morning, it's cold. The sun is 93 million miles away, and it's cold. And then the Earth rotates a little bit, and the sun is still 93 million miles away, and it's warmer, right? Because that distance, what is that? Is 0.0000001% of the distance of the sun, right? And then in the evening, the sun's still 93 million miles away, the same distance because the Earth is just spinning underneath it, and it's colder. Does that make any sense? Now let's look at a flat Earth. We have a local farther sun. It's cool. It comes across. It's much closer. It's warm. And then it goes farther away, much farther. It's colder. So looking at that on just a Mercator projection, this is the Tropic of Cancer in June. So the sun will go over all of these places throughout the day. This is it in December, right? Goes over Australia, right? But if we put that on a flat Earth map, in June, the sun circles around here. So the sun is very close to the United States. It goes over Miami. It's closer. And so we're gaining more heat every day than we're losing at night. So the sun, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter, right? And then in December, the sun works its way out here. So in September and March, it's over the equator, but it's out here. So it's farther away. So it's lower in the sky. It's not giving you as much heat. The lakes are freezing. It's snowing because the sun's not close. Seasons don't work on a globe Earth because if it's the angle of the sun to the ball, well, what about sunrise in June in Connecticut? Why is it hot when the sun is all the way as low as the sky as it could possibly be? And in June, in the heliocentric model, the sun is 3.5 million miles farther than it is in December. But in June, when the sun is right on the horizon, I could feel the heat. I could take my shirt off. I can relax. I can lay it out on the beach. In December at noon, when the sun is as high as it is for that day, a much more direct angle and 3.5 million miles closer, I can't even feel the heat on my face. It's not giving me any heat. That destroys the globe model. It destroys it. The problem is most people are unable to think through what I just said.
Hey, well, I'm thinking of what you just said, looking at the information you presented, and when I observe the sky, and I observe the sky every single day because I'm fully aware of what they're doing, what they're spraying in the sky. I always think that they're trying to block out the sun to a degree, but when I'm observing the sky, I have to say, like I'm looking at the winter right now, and then I look at the summer, I don't notice a visible difference in terms of how high or how low the sun is.
Where are you located? Where are you located?
I'm located in the southeast.
What state? What state?
North Carolina.
So North Carolina. So yeah. You're a little south, but the sun, you're not looking. Go out now at noon, not now, like tomorrow at noon, and measure the angle of the sun to the horizon. And then in June, measure it. It's going to be completely different, but it changes a little bit every day. So most people just don't even notice it. Most people, you don't know where the sun goes. Most people don't realize that it's curving around, that it's circling the earth. The sun moves. We don't move.
I think it seems like it does move. And I would see this is where people who are questioning, who are saying, listen, I'm committed to the earth being a globe. But if you have the data information that shows over the course of a year, okay, well, look, we measured the sun and this is the height we measured it for this particular day. And this is what the temperature was. Having that evidence in that degree, if it's already out there, that evidence should be presented a lot more clearly. And if it's not out there, then it should definitely be presented because I think it's something worth looking into. And somebody showed me, or I think it was a video questioning what Earth really is. And I have to tell you, this really made me got to thinking, is that they showed a person showing a light bulb on an area, and they were showing the light bulb moving in a circular fashion, and they were saying, okay, well, why is the light only highlighting this particular area and the rest of the area is dark? So when they were showing that, it seemed to really kind of go into the model that you were showing, where it's like the sun does move away from you, and it's very local. That was pretty interesting.
Right.
But also coming back real quick to space, the moon. I mean, there's a Hollywood film out called Fly Me to the Moon, which is how they did a backup or a fake the moon landing. I find that to be one of the strongest reasons to question. If you can question the moon, I think all things are kind of open because they made people believe that they're on the moon. You look up in the sky, you see the moon. I don't understand why you can see through it. That's something I have a really hard. That's probably one of the biggest things that got me into questioning what Earth really is because of the moon. So, what's your perspective on the moon? And
yeah, so first, here's the light you were talking about. A light on a wall. Why is it dark over here? Why is it dark over here? But you put a layer of atmosphere in between there. You can't see. You know how like in the southeast, if you're on the ocean or even anywhere in the Caribbean, if you're in the tropics, when you look out, there's always clouds on the horizon. There's always thick clouds on the horizon, even though you have just a couple clouds in the sky and it's a blue sky. Why are there always clouds over there? Because if I was over there, is it cloudy? And it's not. Right? So it's because it's all due to perspective. Imagine you hang random cotton balls, off the ceiling, and they're all about a foot apart, cotton balls, a foot apart, and you have them the entire room, the long room, a really long room, right? Do it in a hallway in a Vegas hotel. And so you lay down on the ground and you look up, you can see the ceiling, no problem. There's just a couple cumulus cotton balls, right? But as you look down the hallway, those cotton balls are going to slope down. They're going to slope down, and you're not going to be able to see through them anymore because they're all going to line up. And then at the horizon, it's just going to be solid cotton balls. And that's how we see the clouds, right? So people don't even know what they're seeing. It's amazing. They don't teach us this stuff in school or perspective. I wanted to, before we run out of time, I wanted to talk about flight routes for a second. I want to show you one flight route. So on a ball Earth, right, you got the equator in the middle, north on the top, south on the bottom. And if you picked you had numbers in a hat of every runway, every airport in the north had a number, and you pick two numbers out of a hat. No matter how many times you pick two numbers, would any of those flight paths need to go below the equator to get to the other northern airport?
Oh.
No. And guess what? None of them ever do. So the same thing should be true for a southern airport. So any two southern airports, any combination anywhere, they should never, ever, ever have to go north of the equator for the shortest route. And that's a fact, but that's not what happens. So here is a flight from New Zealand, which is right off of Australia. Australia is right around the corner here, Argentina and South America. And FlightAware says this is the Great Circle route, right? I question that. I'm like, why wouldn't they just go this way? You know, whatever. And this is the shortest route, but that's not the route that they take, right? This is the route that they take. They go from New Zealand, cross the equator to San Francisco to Texas, and all the way back down across the equator to Argentina.
That's strange.
This trip here is longer on the globe map, not model, than the entire trip should take, right? It should go right here, right? But if we look at it on a flat Earth map, New Zealand, San Francisco, Houston, Texas, and Argentina. What did your mother teach you? The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Airplanes fly straight and level over the Earth plane, period. Right? Airplanes stay level because they have a gyro. They spin it up on the runway. It holds rigidity in space. If the airplane turns, the gyro stays level. If it dips down, the gyro stays always level. So as you're flying over a ball, the gyro should be processing backwards, but it doesn't. It stays level. And the globers will go, well, pendulous vanes, they have these pendulous vanes in these gyros. What about the non-pendulous vanes gyros, the mechanical gyros that they've always been using? They do not change their orientation based on gravity or anything else. There's no explanation for that. None.
Mr. Dave Weiss, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. I love the fact that you question and that you're very passionate about this. And if people look at their reality and they really take a hard look and they're willing to see beyond cognitive distance, I'm sure they're going to find a lot of other truth. So the idea that you're questioning what Earth really is, I think that should be a gateway in a lot of ways to other people questioning the nature of their spirituality, the nature of their health. You question everything. And the fact that you have really presented a lot of terrific information and are getting people talking about this, it's a wonderful idea. You can learn more about Dave by going to his website, flatearthdave.com.
Let me throw in a couple things
Sure.
here. What you're going to notice is the trolls are going to show up. They're bots, and if you look at their channels, I call them globe proof channels. They're comprehensive globe proof channels because there's zero content on them, zero, right? So they're all going to show up. They're going to call me a grifter. They're going to say my app uses globe data, whatever. They're going to say all this other nonsense that I'm trying to sell you a $3 app. It's a lie. Nonsense. I am trying to sell you a $3 app because it's going to help you see the world for what it is. Have you looked into the old world much?
The old world, talking about like the Tartarians?
Yeah. I have on the app, I have an old world section, and it's mind blowing. If you're new to it, start here with Old World Order by Sean Hibbeler. And if you don't know My Lunch Break, you need to learn, need to follow.
Yeah, that's
that
a great
guy.
channel. That is
amazing,
a terrific channel.
amazing. And you'll never be able to go outside, even in your hometown, and not look around and go, "How did I miss that? How did I not see that my entire life? How did I not realize that? How come I never thought about that?" Because you weren't taught to think; you were taught to memorize and regurgitate. Flat Earth, they'll say flat Earth is dying. Flat Earth is over. The circling sun in Antarctica. Right? Remember the helium and hydrogen space ball from Narnia is the reason they say flat Earth is over. These are the people that have my app. All right.
Wow.
So flat Earth is growing exponentially, and I would say that's less than 1% of the flat earthers, because
how many people do you think are flat earthers right now?
I think it's double digit percentages. Okay.
Sure.
But a lot of people are quiet about it. FlatEarthDave.com. Ignore the trolls. Ignore me. Do not believe anything anybody tells you. Go verify everything. All right. I am in Mexico, though. Right. And I am going to Anarchapulco. And if you want to go, it's a great freedom conference. It's not just Flat Earth, although Flat Earth is amazing. Dominate this year. It's going to dominate like it did last year, right? Because flat Earth is reality and it frees you from the matrix, right? And Jeff's into this whole simulation, this whole thing. I'm with him, but it's a flat simulation, right? And you can believe whatever you want, and you can do whatever you want, because we are infinite. We are infinite. Free souls that have no restrictions other than what we put on ourselves, and fear is how they control us. And you can use my code FEDAVE to get 10% off your ticket. So come, it's a great vacation. Get out of the cold. If you're in the north, come to Anarchapulco, and you're going to have a lifelong new group of friends and content that's going to change your life. Send your kid here. If you have a kid that's going to college, send him to Anarchapulco, right? Because he'll learn more there than 4 years and a couple of $100,000 is going to teach him in school. Matter of fact, his kid's going to go backwards if you send him to college. Unless, he's training to be a brain surgeon or something like that, then you need to go to that school. But if you want to go into business or something, if you don't know what you want to do, figure out what you want to do, right? And then go do it. College isn't the place to do it.
Oh, well, Jeff put together a really great conference. I mean, there's so many different health optimizations, great speakers.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's an 11th year 11 years doing this. So
David Avocado Wolf is going to be there. He's amazing. Andy Kaufman's going to be there. There's so many good speakers, and of course, Flat Earth is going to dominate. And it's gonna change people's lives, and that's what I'm all about. I'm all about waking people up to getting out of their faith-based heliocentric prison. So,
all right, Dave, thank you so much.
All right, man, thanks. See ya. Hey, everyone. If you enjoyed this interview, please help support my work and help wake up others by referring or gifting the app to at least one person today. By doing that, you're going to help wake people up and help me to continue doing other interviews like this. With the censorship out there that's going on, it's very difficult to find relevant information. And the app, as you know, brings people to the truthful information of our world. So help support my work, help support your efforts in waking up friends, family, and strangers. Gift them the app or just recommend the app. And let's make 2025 the year Flat Earth breaks free. Check the links below for information on how to gift the app or just refer the app to others, and use your referral code to earn Dome cryptocurrency and a free subscription. Thanks.